Butcher Ravage swung his axe, releasing an eldritch blast that severed the head of Queen Julia. Her body fell over as her head soared through the air. Sean Stryker, with zooming speed, ran and caught the falling head before it hit the ground. Ravage stood at the open doorway, laughing as people screamed and ran away. Lieutenant Ross and Lady Umbra stood behind him. Umbra gave a nervous wave to Pace. Pace waved back. "So sorry to interrupt your big party. I would have RSVP'd, but someone forgot to send me an invite," Ravage shouted, smile on his face. "Alright, here's how things are gonna go. Your queen's dead, and all of you rich fucks who don't get with the program are gonna follow her. Your big plan to rid the seas of the pirate menace ain't happening. We're in control." "You bastard!" James shouted as he charged for Ravage. Ravage effortlessly knocked him away with his axe. "Feel free to try and fight me if you'd like. You'll fail, but hey, it's up to you. Hell, it's probably a quicker way to die than anything my crew will do to you." On cue, a swarm of imps flew through the open doorway and descended on the crowd. Ren watched the chaos, the blood and violence, the consequences of his actions, and decided that enough was enough. He charged for Ravage and struck the massive pirate with his short swords. Ravage laughed. "You wanna go? Okay, let's fucking go!" Ravage shouted as he brought his axe down on Ren. The blow hurt like hell, but Ren kept standing. Pace, Iroh, and James ran to Ren's side. At the other side of the ballroom, Armik and Sean had a plan. Sean carried Julia's head to the rest of her body. Armik ran onto the stage and pulled out a diamond. He cast Revivify. Julia gasped as she came back to life. So when you're a DM, sometimes you get the opportunity to do something mean. Your players do something bad and you force them to live with the consequences of their actions. Your players make a mistake and you make it bite them in the ass. Your players overlook something important and you ensure they realize what they missed. Sometimes you let these opportunities pass you by, let your players win. Other times it's good to be a little mean. Here's the thing about Revivify. It raises the dead, yes, but it raises them with 1 hit point. As Julia sat back up, Ravage saw that his assassination attempt had failed. But of course, there are few problems that a good Eldritch Blast can't fix. A second Eldritch Blast pierced Julia's chest, killing her for real this time. Armik held her still warm body in her hands. She was as dead as the sea was wet. He'd failed to save her. He looked out at the swarm of imps, and he realized something. He stood up, ran to the fight by the doorway, and kept running. Out the door, out the palace, to the docks. Meanwhile, Pace and Lady Umbra stared each other down, swords in hand. "Hey babe, what's up?" "Oh, work." "Yeah, not to be that guy, but can you not? Like, believe me, I have no love for the Royal Navy, but this is a bit much." "I know, but the Depths Queen knows best. By the way, do you want to get a drink later?" "That'd be cool, but the rest of my party would probably try to cut your head off." "Oh, yeah, probably." Lady Umbra spent the rest of the fight awkwardly standing there, not wanting to kill anyone, but not rebellious enough to help the party. Pace spent the rest of the fight killing imps. Kit also handled the imp problem, tearing them apart with her daggers, accompanied by her kobold children. An imp lunged for a kobold, only to be vaporized by a bolt of light. Kit turned to see Guy Fieri, firing guiding bolts from finger guns, slaying imps left and right. "No hard feelings, right?" he shouted, laughing. The party continued fighting against Ravage and his minions, while Armik continued running. Not away, not out of cowardice. No, Armik ran away because he realized the danger waiting on the horizon. He realized that the dozen imps Ravage brought were only a fraction of the army he'd seen at Hemlock. Ravage's ship, the Slaughterhouse, sat at the docks overflowing with devils. An army strong enough to destroy the city, the moment they were given the order. Armik made sure that order never came. He raised his hammer, called upon the might of Astitia, and brought forth a miracle. He slammed the hammer down on the ice. The sea split as Armik cast Control Water, pulling apart 100 cubic feet of ocean right below the slaughterhouse. The ship fell 100 feet down the new trench, breaking as it landed. Hundreds of imps flew out. Armik dropped the spell and the ocean slid back together, crushing all of them in an instant. And, quite honestly, that is the coolest goddamn thing I have ever witnessed a player do in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Back at the palace, the party hit Ravage with everything they had. Ren with his short swords and hunter's mark, Iroh with his fire, Sean with his blade of ice. Ravage hit Ren with his axe hard enough to knock him out, but Ren kept standing, kept fighting. Iroh healed Ren's wounds, and Ren took another stab at the pirate. Ravage realized he'd bitten off more than he could chew and ran away, like the coward he was. Ren shot him in the back as he fled. Ravage fell over with 0 hit points. He wasn't dead yet. The mark on his arm refused to let him die without a successor. Ross walked over to his injured boss, placed his hands on his neck, and snapped it with a single motion. "This isn't over yet, gang," Ross said, the mark appearing on his arm. "Hope you have a nice night, Ren, 'cause there will be hell to pay once the morning comes." Lady Umbra struck the ice, creating a crack leading down to the ocean. Ross and her jumped in, disappearing into the dark water. The fight was over. Now it was time for the consequences. James sat next to his mother's corpse, holding her bloody crown. "I'm sorry for your loss, James," Iroh said. James chuckled, the sort of sad chuckle you give when it feels like the world is ending. "I suppose I'm in charge now, aren't I?" he said. "I wanted this for a very long time, but not like this. Not like this." You know, there is magic that could bring her back. She wouldn't be the same, but she would be alive. Perhaps. But I do not want to meddle with such dark arts. There is always a cost. Okay, fine, geez, be that way. For context, Iroh and his player were thinking of the spell Reincarnate, which Iroh knew. James and I thought he was talking about making a Faustian bargain, like Mortimer had made with the Depths Queen. If the two of us were better at communicating, the Queen would have come back to life. D&D is dumb sometimes. So, what happens now? War, I suppose, against the pirates who attacked us. We track them down, and we kill every last one of them. "A good plan, your majesty, but I'd be careful. The pirate lords and their minions will probably go after you next," Fiery said, interrupting. He glanced at Iroh, but Iroh couldn't read his expression, thanks to the sunglasses. "Fortunately, my church has plenty of safe houses hidden across the sea. We'll keep you safe. Thank you, High Priest. And, of course, my church will do anything we can to crush these terrible pirate lords. And I assume you guys will help too, right, Iroh?" "Right. By the way, before you head out, make sure to light Rubicon Tower. It'll be useful for moving troops around." Iroh walked away, leaving the new king with the cult leader. Kit sat at one of the tables, exhausted. "Iroh?" "Yeah?" "Tell Ren and Sean that I can't do this anymore. It's too much violence, too much danger, too much watching people die. I didn't want this, you know?" "I understand. See you around, Kit." "Stay safe," she said. And with that, Kit left the party. Iroh found Ren and Sean by the palace's entrance, looting Ravage's corpse. Ren ripped off the corpse's belt, and Ravage's muscles sank away. Ren examined the belt, discovering it to be a belt of giant strength. Fortunately, this wasn't a game-breaking new item, because every single member of the party was dex-based. As I said that, Ren's player reminded me that he had proficiency in martial weapons, and told me he wanted to buy a longsword. Uh-oh. Back to the serious stuff. "So, are we on the same page now?" Iroh asked. "Yeah. The things I've done, Ripley would hate me for them. It's time to make things right." "What's the plan, Captain?" "Simple. We kill the Depths Queen, and every one of her pirate lords." The Depths Queen invaded Ren's dreams again that night. "How's it going, Odette?" Ren said as he appeared in the black void. "Do not treat me with such flippancy! Again, you have defied me. You forget that I can kill Ripley, I know. Except, I don't think she's still alive. I think you've been stringing me along, forcing me to serve you forever without ever giving me what you offered. Just like you did with Mortimer, right?" The Depths Queen stayed silent. "We're coming for you, Odette. And we are coming for you," a voice said. Ren turned to see 5 more figures floating behind the Depths Queen. Ross he recognized, but the others were strangers. A witch doctor, a tabaxi swordsman, a man with a mustache, and a metal man in a nice suit. "You've chosen war, Captain. Now it's your turn to live with the consequences." Epilogue. A few days later, the party learned that Ross and Lady Umbra had stolen a Royal Navy ship and were sailing towards the stormy seas in the southwest portion of the map. Smash cut to a battle between two ships in the center of a massive whirlpool. Tullius did everything he could to keep the ship from sinking as the party battled against Ross's devil minions. This is all getting a bit serious, fellas. How about I break all of your happy little necks so we can all go home? Ross whipped his chains around Pace and ripped back, dragging her off the deck and into the whirlpool. Pace began to sink, towards certain doom. Lady Umbra made a choice. She ran, grabbing onto a rope, and swung off the boat. She landed in the water and grabbed onto Pace. They began to sink, but Lady Umbra cast Water Walk. She braced herself against the flowing water, trying to keep Pace alive. Iroh's familiar flew out and teleported the two of them back to safety. Sean pointed his sword at Ross and fired an eldritch blast straight through the devil's chest, killing him. In hindsight, Ross was a bit of a pointless villain, not gonna lie. Tullius barely managed to sail the boat away from the whirlpool. As the party sailed through the rough seas, Ren drew his new longsword and approached Lady Umbra. "Easy, she's okay," Pace said as she stepped in front of Ren. "She's working for the Depths Queen." "I mean, so were we very recently." "She doesn't want to fight us anymore. Right, honey?" Lady Umbra stared at Pace. "I'm sorry," she said before lunging for Ren. She hit Ren and Ren hit her back. "See? Your girlfriend's an asshole!" Lady Umbra swung again. Pace jumped in, shoving Ren out of the way. Lady Umbra's sword slashed across her chest. "I'm sorry," Lady Umbra shouted as she dropped her sword and laid hands on Pace. "It's fine. Another one for the collection, you know?" "Stand down!" Her hand trembling, Lady Umbra reached for her sword. Iroh teleported Ren away before Lady Umbra could stab him. "You don't want to do this, do you? The Depths Queen wants him dead." "Neat. What do you want?" I... Lady Umbra winced as pain spread through her mind. "You're being controlled, aren't you? Let me help you." Iroh placed his hand on Lady Umbra and cast the spell magic. It wasn't enough to break the Depths Queen's control over her, but it was enough to break the magic in her cloak. The magic that hid her in darkness disappeared, revealing turquoise skin and blonde hair. Ripley?" Ren said, voice breaking. "I have to go now," Ripley said, before running and jumping off the boat. Ren ran after her and stared off the edge. He saw only dark waves. "Who's Ripley?" "Ren's dead sister." "Oh. Oh! Hey, Ren, I'm sorry I had sex with your sister. Like, really, really sorry, Pace. Especially because it was, like, really good. Top tier sex, you know. Pace, if you do not shut up this instant, I will throw you overboard." "What, so I can be closer to your sister?" DM note, it's a good thing I do these sessions over Discord, because I do not have a good enough poker face to have hidden my glee at knowing this scene would inevitably happen the moment Pace's player expressed an interest in Lady Umbra. Epilogue to the epilogue. Late that night, Sean awoke in a deep, dark span of endless ocean. A monstrous woman with pale, bloody skin and endless tentacles swam up to him. She looked him over. "No." "What's wrong, Mommy?" "No, we are not doing this. I refuse to attempt to seduce you to the dark side with promises of power." "Please seduce me, Mommy. I will kill you and everyone you care about." And that was the beginning and the end of Sean's career as Pirate Lord.